All right, we'll go on straight to our next speaker for today. He's my Oga. You know Oga. You know everybody has Oga. Even Oga has Oga. All right, our next speaker is Chief Adewale Adeniji. He's the general partner of Adewale Adeniji LP. He'll be speaking to us on legal and regulatory compliance. But just before he comes up, I'm going to just read his profile shortly. Chief Adewale Adeniji is a legal practitioner. Let me read it, sir. Please, let's welcome him, please.
Please, let's give it up for Ola and all that he's doing to help businesses. God bless you, my brother. You have the slide? Thank you, sir. Right, so my task is to speak to us on legal and regulatory compliance for small and medium-scale enterprises in Nigeria. I hope these slides will be shared with participants so you can do a deeper dive. Next slide is just about me. Let's move on. You can always learn that later. 2 years to move on. All right, so I have 1 hour. I want to try and do this presentation in about 40 minutes because I have a case study I want us to work on. Most people who do business have one vision, and that is to start the business and to move on. If you ask them, what is your vision for this business, they can tell it to you whether in essay form or in bullet points form. All they want to do is start their business. And that is the most common error that most people who go into business make. It's a common error because, yes, it's good for you to want to make business, but when I help people with these, I ask them to visualize their business as a building, a house that has 2 doors, the front door and the back door. So I should like for you to try and do that little exercise now. Just think of your business as that house that has 2 doors, the front door and the back door. The front door is that door that allows you to offer your products and services to your markets after you've done your TAM, and where your receivables come through. The back door is that door that should be monitored such that the income that flows into the business does not flow out. If you successfully picture this in your mind, then what I'm about to tell you in the next 40 minutes will resonate better. So that common mistake, I pray, because this is a Christian business fellowship, that you will not make that same mistake. People had gone into business with good intentions but had not succeeded because all they focused on was just let the karakata start, let the millions begin to flow. Everybody wants to be like Aki, let all the millions in dollars begin to flow in. But if you picture that house, you would know that to build a solid house, you need a solid foundation. Legal compliance, statutory compliances, financial compliance is the foundation that will keep your business afloat, prosperous, and scalable. That's very important. Most people who start business at the point of starting really oftentimes do not think of scaling, how the business will be scaled. But if the foundation is good and you follow the tips that you're going to get today, then it will be quite easy for you to achieve that. I think you're ahead of me, actually. Slide 3. Right. Now slide 4. I just left slide 3. Thank you. Now, those who go into business have certain common misconceptions when it comes to regulations, when it comes to structure. And those misconceptions have been the reasons why people have found it difficult to excel when they do business. The first misconception is that compliance is a burden that gets in the way of doing business. I've had people who had advised, who had said to me that, lawyer, I mean, let's just get this thing to the market. But by the time NAFDA came hard on that business, they realized what the lawyer had been trying to tell them. Compliance is not a burden. It is something you need to do that will ensure that your business survives for the long term. Another misconception is that compliance hinders profit. This money, pay this for this license, pay for that one, and it's eating into our money. I said, no. If it is properly done, it will in fact boost your profit level. And that always happens all the time. Some other people will say compliance is just a checklist item. You know that when you want to do something, you have, okay, this one check, that one check. Compliance is not a checklist item. If you look at compliance as a checklist item, then you will miss the important thing about compliance, which I'll come to very shortly. Some people even think that, oh, compliance is a standalone thing. They just get, okay, you want us to do all these things, get a small bench somewhere at the back end of the office, put somebody there, and completely abandon that person until problem arises and they begin to run helter-skelter. My truth is that regulatory compliance boosts the bottom line of business any day, any time. And let me simplify it this way. If you fail to obtain the licenses that you need to obtain, and I will discuss that shortly, or you fail to pay the taxes that you should pay on your business because you think it's a burden or because you think it will cost you money, by the time the regulators come knocking on your door, you will spend much more than you will have spent to have complied. So it's going to be a case of penny wise. I thought you would say dollar foolish. All right, so next slide, please. The business registration structure is what I want to discuss with you. If I take a poll of the room, I will be surprised if there's anybody here who has not registered a business. But if you're here, then I'm happy that you're here, and I'll take you quickly through the things that we need to do. There are basically 5 types of business structures that I want to discuss with you, and I'll take a little bit of time to explain them. The first one is the sole proprietorship. Your typical one-man business. Adewale Adeniji International Unlimited, importer and exporter. He is the one that does the bookkeeping. He's the one that, stocks the thing. He's the one that does the entry. He will call up clients. Of course, not on the scale of Mr. Akwatola, He's the one that will run to the market, buy the thing, come and stock it. A sole proprietorship is an unincorporated business owned and run by one person, where the business owner is everything. Nobody can do anything except the owner is around. If he is not around and you are in a hurry, God help you. In law, the implication of a sole proprietorship is that the owner receives all the profits, but is equally liable for all the debts and the losses. Your typical one-man business structure. Next slide, please. The next kind of business structure that you can have is a partnership, like my law firm or any professional firm or even businesses. This is where 2 or more people agree to share profits and losses of a business, with each partner potentially having unlimited liability in terms of business debts. Now, for the purpose of synergy, if the business you do requires synergy, then a partnership might be the way for you to go. For example, if you are a technical person who requires other services you are not competent in, and you have somebody who can provide that service, then you can collaborate and form a partnership with such people. That is the second type. Next slide, please. The third type, and this is the most common these days, is the limited liability company, or LLC. This is a business structure that combines the limited liability of a corporation with the tax advantages of a partnership. The owners of the business, usually called members or shareholders, are liable for the business debts or obligations to the degree of their shareholding. In the event of legal action or business failure, your liability in a limited liability company is certain. Let me explain that to you. The company first will have to pay off its debts. If the company is unable to pay off its debts, then to the degree of your shareholding, you will be liable for the debts of the company. If the debt of the company, for example, is ₦1 billion, and it's a company registered for 10 million naira, and there are two partners of 5 million naira each, they cannot be held liable beyond 5 million naira. That is the advantage of a limited liability company. Incorporated trustees is another popular form. In these days of non-profits, it is a business structure that the Companies and Allied Matters Act allow for people who run NGOs, churches, religious organizations, and the like. And the singular advantage of registering an incorporated trustee is that you can hold property in the name of that NGO. The incorporated trustees of, let's say, this place used to be Protea, so let's use Protea NGO. They can buy land, they can sell land. The downside of it, though, is that you can also sue and be sued in that name of incorporated trustees. It is good for religious bodies and charities. Now, this is my prayer for people in this room this morning, that you are able to scale your business from where it is to become a public liability company. A public liability company is, let's say, the advanced form of a limited liability company. That is another way to look at it. The shares of that company are offered to the public and traded on the stock exchange, which will make room for people in society to come and buy shares. Now, a little secret. In the advanced economies of the world, this is where startups make billions. You start up a small firm, maybe producing these popular phones, iPhones or the Samsung phones. It becomes well known, and you go to the market to raise funds. Initial subscribers to the shares will cash out, and new people will come in. Now, it is my hope that businesses in this room, African businesses, will also be able to scale on such a large level and offer shares that will be subscribed to by internationals. An SME in Nigeria, of course, I put it in the slide, can also become a PLC. Like I said, that is my burning desire for everybody in this room. But there has to be a transformation in terms of your structure, in terms of financials, in terms of your profitability. These are the things that will be considered before the Securities and Exchange Commission can even allow you to approach the market to raise funds. Now, the benefits I have stated here are 6 in number. Quickly, let me just run through a few of them. There will be a legal recognition for your business if it's properly structured and registered. For example, whether you register as a sole proprietorship, a partnership, a limited liability company, an incorporated trustee, or even a PLC, there will always be a certification from the Corporate Affairs Commission saying that Abiodun Hunkonu Limited is registered with us, we know it, and you can do business with it. So your business has legal recognition. What it also does is that it offers your company or your brand legal protection. I'll use something that happened to a client of mine as an example, an illustration now. Let us say the name of that client of mine is ABC Limited. It's in the tech space, doing good business and well known, particularly in the service that they offer. It came to the knowledge of my client that another company had gone to their own ABC, let's assume is capital letter ABC Limited, had gone to register another company, ABCS Limited, in small letters. And they were now trying to sell the similar products of my client to the regular customers of my client. So my clients got to know, they came to us, and we did a simple thing by writing to the Corporate Affairs Commission that you ought not to have registered this company because another one by that name had been registered about 15 years ago, and if you had done good availability, that would have come out. At the end of the day, the CAC now delisted that second company. You can imagine what would have happened if our client had not registered their own business with the CAC. That other company would have had its lunch. All right, the third advantage is it gives you credibility in the marketplace. Now, when I was running through the business structures, I'm sure you remember that I mentioned the sole proprietorship. If you are in this room and you are a sole proprietor, please listen to me. Being a sole proprietorship is legal, but it pegs the limit at which you can fish. And this is the experience I've had. When people want to do business and they discover that even though you are good at what you do, that you are a sole proprietor, they will encourage you to go and become a limited liability company. And the reason is simple. The death of a sole proprietor means the death of that business. People will not give you the funding you need to scale if you are a sole proprietor. I'm not saying they don't get money, but the kind of money that is needed to scale your business, banks, financial bulk before they lend it to you. So it's important that we understand this particular advantage inherent in having a good business registration and structure. What about ability to attract investors? The time was when some investors from the UAE wanted to collaborate with a company in Nigeria. The man was very well known. He had been moving some goods for them. When it came to the time when they wanted to formally conceptualize their relationship, they discovered that he was just Okafor and Sons. At that point, they told him, we cannot do business with you. He was distraught. He even threatened to sue. But he was gently let down his high horse by being advised to go and turn it into Okafor and Sons Limited. Why? Because those investors would rather do a business with an entity that will survive the founder rather than put all their eggs in an individual's basket. So my truth is that a separate legal entity enhances your stature, gives you credibility to scale your business, while also limiting your personal liability. So if you ask me, it really is a no-brainer. Next slide, please. Now we have an expert in the house that will talk to us about taxation and financial compliance, but it would be remiss of me if I do not just broach this topic. So if you have any questions on tax, don't ask them of me, ask them of my colleague when it is time to talk to you. But as an SME, you have the obligation to pay taxes. The fact that you are starting out, even as a small business, does not mean that you are exempt from the payment of taxes. So personal income tax is payable, company income tax is payable, value-added tax for services where these are payable must be payable and must be invoiced on your invoice, because when the taxman comes, those are the things they will check. And withholding tax when you do business that attracts withholding tax. The point I am trying to make is that after you have registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission, ensure that you register with the FIRS and the relevant State Internal Revenue Service where your business is located. Now, all over the world, the great economies of the world, of countries of the world, are sustained, are moved by SMEs. So countries that are smart would offer tax incentives for this core group of businesses. Why? Because when these businesses grow, the GDP of that country will increase. This is what has happened in Western economies. This is what has happened in developing tiger economies. And this is what we are hoping the tax laws passing through the National Assembly will also do for SMEs, because I have read that provision and I know that if it's passed and signed into law, except you make a profit of 25 million per annum, you will be exempt from paying taxes. Now, there are consequences for you as a business owner if you do not pay tax. You can be fined. People will say, God forbid, you can be imprisoned, but you can be imprisoned for tax evasion. But more importantly is the damage to reputation. Who do you think will want to do business with somebody who is held up as a tax defaulter? Even if you are good at what you do or produce, the services you render, that thing will not allow them to identify with you. Now, when the man on taxation comes, ask him. There is a difference between tax evasion and tax avoidance. Tax evasion is illegal. Tax avoidance is legal. They are two different things. There are provisions in the tax laws that allow you to pay lesser than what ordinarily you will pay if you do not have good counsel. But my counsel to you this morning, as children of God, is that you should avoid tax evasion. Next slide, please. All right, so depending on the business that you do, I want to now begin to explain to you some of the regulatory compliance that are industry specific. We have key regulatory agencies like the Standards Organization of Nigeria, like NAFDAC, like the CBN, like the Securities and Exchange Commission, and a host of others. And for the businesses that you do, there are industry-specific licenses and permits that you need to have. If you're in the food business, fintech business, manufacturing, hospitality, whatever it is, there are licenses you need to procure. I also would need to remind you, I assume that you already know, if you don't know, just keep a straight face, that you also need to comply with data protection and compliance in Nigeria, and also intellectual property angle of whatever product or service you offer. Next slide, please. Let's look at the fintech business. To operate legally in Nigeria, fintech companies are required to have specific licenses. One of such licenses, just for the purpose of an example, is a PSSP license issued by the Central Bank of Nigeria. You cannot do some certain level of businesses if you do not have this license. And I can tell you from personal experience of some of my clients, it is a license that if you get, you do not want to lose. Because once you lose it, to get it again, it will be like, don't let me use that illustration in this hall. So it is important, if you operate in that sector, for you to know that there are licenses to be procured. What does this mean? It means, like the first speaker has said, You, as a business person, you cannot be everywhere at every time. And you need so many things you need to do, which is why the advice I have at the end of my slide is germane. You cannot run the race alone. It is by collaboration, it is by partnering with those who can assist you. There are several licenses in this space, depending on the service you offer, whether it is switching, processing, mobile money, or payment solutions you need to obtain. Next slide, please. The most populous, the most popular sector these days is the hospitality industry. Dirty Lagos has even had something to do with that, when people now know that you can make a lot of money. So you're having businesses set up A, B, and B. You're having shortlets here and there. You have hotel businesses and the various services in that value chain. Now, if you are in the hospitality, if you are playing in the hospitality industry, there is the Nigerian Tourism Development Corporation that you need to contend with. You would need to procure licenses depending on the services you offer. And I don't know whether you've noticed, if like me, you have transactions to do in hotels, once you walk into the reception area of a hotel, you will normally see some certifications behind the receptionist. These are the things that you need the NTDC for, and also some very powerful agencies in Lagos State, in Lagos and Ogun State, and in the Federal Capital Territory. Those people can frustrate your business if you operate in this sector if you don't have those certifications. Also, there is the small issue of SCUMUL. Is there anybody in this room that likes going to SCUMUL office? If you are here, I will say we should pray for a liar, because even lawyers are wary of transacting business with those EFCC boys, because it is like they make it their duty to frustrate you and to ensure that you do not get what you need to do what you have to do. So those are the things that you need to pay attention to if you operate in this sector, particularly the hospitality sector and those who are involved in property, those who are involved in selling of cars. It is like they have a beef with that kind of business. All right, so the next slide, please. Let's go to food production. If you are into food production, you have almighty NAFDAC to contend with. Now, let me tell you something. Those of you who like to have special or several aspects of a business, not looking in any particular direction. My wife is in this room, not looking towards her. If you have a business that makes soap, I think that's what my sister Lisa also does, and you also have some other byproducts apart from soap, you are going to have to get licenses for each of them. One license does not cover all. So bear in mind that there could be a knock on your factory door at any time. If you have the license and approval for soap making, it does not extend to making bleach. It does not extend to making any other product. So if you have 10 product lines, how many licenses are you going to get? 10. Thank you very much. So it's important you bear this in mind when you begin to scale, when you begin to offer other products, so that nobody will come and lock up your factory. NAFDAC registration is mandatory also for packaged and processed foods. If you go to the supermarket and you pick up a product, if it's, whether it's made in Nigeria or imported into Nigeria, there should be a NAFDAC certification that says this product is fit for consumption. So if you are a player in that area and you do not have those licenses, I will encourage you to please go get them. Next slide, please. The same thing for manufacturing company business. I have listed the licenses you need to obtain: Standard Organization of Nigeria licenses, product registration with NAFDAC if your product are consumables, the necessary permits, and final approval and operational permit. Now, unfortunately, those who operate manufacturing businesses in Nigeria and are on a big scale are not locals, they are not Nigerians. In them we have Indians, we have some Chinese people. And what has been discovered is that oftentimes these factories, these manufacturing entities run without these approvals, or they run with expired approvals. So if you do business with any of those people, please do those business ventures with your eyes wide open. I've also put there what a finance company will require, the regulatory permits they will require. So I want to quickly go to the slide on data protection, please, Toby. Data protection. Thank you. Now, every business in Nigeria, mandatorily for some years now, that deals with data that involves more than 2,000 persons must pay attention to Nigeria's data protection laws. Oftentimes, I see people share links for Google Forms, encouraging people to fill this and fill that. When I see those forms, I offer a silent prayer that I hope these people know what they are getting themselves into. For example, if you collate the data of anyone using Google Form, and that person feels that the information he or she has supplied could be used in an untoward manner and makes a report, there will be gbege. And I am not talking of small gbege. Why? Because as it happens in Europe and in America, our government has now thought it wise to protect people. In these days of AI, your information can be used anyhow. So please, if your business involves collation of data, you need to pay attention to the Nigerian Data Protection Act 2023. So companies must register with the Nigerian Data Protection Commission and must appoint a data protection officer. The first point of problem for any business, if the commission comes, will be if you do not have somebody designated as a data protection officer. Now, the job of that data protection officer will be to ensure that, one, the data you collate off of all these forms are used for what they ought to be used for, and render returns to the commission on the use of these forms. So if the commission comes calling and they ask you to just show them who your data protection officer is, and you are saying it is the MD, I'm saying this for the purpose of those of us who want to do everything ourselves. Even if you are the majority shareholder and the only shareholder of that business, if you do not have somebody separate doing data protection, then you have run foul of the law. So please bear in mind the Nigerian Data Protection Act 2023, the Nigerian Data Protection Regulation 2019, and the fact that the agency to approach is the Nigerian Data Protection Commission, whose office is conveniently in Abuja, with offices in Lagos that do not work. Did I say that? No, I'm sorry, I didn't say that. Next slide, please. Now, when you do business and you generate ideas, you also need to protect those ideas. In fact, you know that if you are in the tech space and you have unique ideas, my experience is that you will be looked on as a key player in that sector if you have intellectual property protection. I have seen a situation where somebody who worked with a client of ours went and formed his own business and took most of the things they worked on and took them away and started making money off of them. Now, this was a client that we had advised in writing. That's a CYA for a lawyer. So they don't say that you did not advise them, that you need to protect this. So when they came back to say, lawyer, I want to sue them, I say, based on what now? We did it, he stole it from us. What is the proof? And the man was like, what are you talking about? I said, sir, did we not counsel that you do the needful and protect the intellectual property? And the fee then was so small. And he said, so what are you saying? I'm saying that if you want to engage in this ruffle fight, sir, you can lose it. Because this young man has nothing to lose. You have a name in the industry. Everybody knows you. So if you are going to fight it, you have to fight it because you have a legal leg to stand on. So it might not be something you think will happen to you now. But trust me honestly, have you noticed this Nigerian thing? If you open a shop and you are selling Ankara and people are coming to buy, the next person will come and open a shop beside you selling the same thing. So it's important that you do the needful in terms of copyright, in terms of patents, particularly designs. People don't advert their minds to designs, but in this day of AI, before somebody says it's AI generated, you better go and protect yourself. So that's something else you need to look at. Now, let me come to the problem area for businesses now in Nigeria. If you have heard of the National Industrial Court, please can you raise up your hands? All right. So there are labor laws now that has a dedicated court. They have no other thing to do than a company, particularly big companies, win landmark cases at the industrial court. And there is a reason. The reason is because the laws has been now so made to favor the employee. There is no sorry, Balami. There is no knowledge you can spew. If they don't find it in the law, they will find it in a convention. Oh yes, I've done loads of cases in that court. So I tell my clients, do not invite the problem of going, and employees now know it. Small thing, you have received a letter from their lawyer. Because they know. And the irony of that court is that the judgments of that court, you must comply within 30 days, even if you want to appeal. So, the best way to keep that back door I told you to visualize closed is to ensure that you comply with employment laws. I want to explain them to you now. Next slide, please. There is the Labour Act. There is the National Minimum Wage Act. There is the Employee Compensation Fund. And there is a National Social Insurance Trust Fund. If you are a business owner and you are not familiar with these laws, I take God beg you. Like Akin said, use ChatGPT at the very least. For example, those of you who have employees, have you given them letters of contract? Those letters of contract, are they per standard? Does it have a provision therein for deduction of pensions and your own counterpart funding? Excuse me, counterpart funding for pensions. A lot of businesses work on eggshells of litigation that they do not know yet. We did a case for a bank. I will not mention the name of the bank. The letter of employment of that staff who was employed in their Just branch was written on a sheet of paper. I could not believe it. I could not believe it. Not a small bank. I could not believe it. And the lawyer of the former employee, God rest his soul, Adeshina Ogulano, is going to be with the Lord now, said to me, Egbon, addressing me, I know you and I respect you. And I knew what he meant. So I had to tell my client, if you are wise, pay what this man is asking for, because you will pay times 10 in the judgment. That is a big bank that did not pay enough attention to the letter of contract. That in itself is illegal under the Labour Act. So you might feel that your business is at a level where it is still small, but I need you to understand that the size of your business has nothing to do with the size of the judgment that could be got against you. Okay, let me round up now because I want us to go to the case study. Next slide, please. I have what I want to share with you as compliance best practices. I believe quite honestly that if you take to this, it should help your business structure-wise and position you for scaling. The first one is to develop a robust compliance grid. Now, those of you who are not familiar with lawyers, let me tell you something about lawyers. Lawyers don't just use words. There is a reason why those words are used, and I'll show them to you here. I am not saying you should develop a compliance grid. I am saying you should develop what? A robust compliance grid. Now, what does a compliance grid look like? Let's take, for example, the payment of pension. Your compliance grid will have the list of your members of staff who you have to pay pension on, the amount that has to be paid by the staff deductible from the salary, the amount that has to be paid by the employer as your counterpart funding, and the organization you have chosen that the pension amount will go to. And most importantly, 2 more columns, when it should be done and who should do it. I have discovered that if you have that grid designed for you, it is unlikely that you fall foul of the law. The same thing with the National Housing Fund requirements of the law. The same thing you can do for taxation. The same thing you can do for practically anything you are required to do under the law. Now, in addition to number 1, is to institutionalize compliance oversight. Again, I have deliberately chosen my words. I did not say you have compliance oversight. Abi, what did I say? How do you institutionalize something? By making it immune to human error. I know of some businesses, if the MD or the owner or the general, I don't want to use overseer, does not sign off on something, it will not be done. That is a personalized oversight. Oversight is institutionalized. Whether the owner likes it or not, this thing will be checked and this thing will be done. You know why that is important? some business owners know that they are running foul of the law and they don't give a hoot. You know why? Because it is in their nature. Wahala is their business. But if you work for such a person or you have learned from such a person and you want to adopt that as what your mentor has taught you, you are going to run into trouble. So, institutionalize compliance oversight such that no human interference will cause there to be a problem. Number 3, develop a strong corporate governance structure. Now, those of you who have limited liability companies in the hall, if you don't mind me asking, can you please raise up your hands? You have your business is registered as a limited liability, raise up your hands. Okay, just a few of us. Now, those of you who have raised up your hands, if you have a board of directors in place, raise up your hands now. Fewer hands. Now, those of you who have raised up your hand and you have a board of directors, do you have other people other than yourself on that board of directors? Aha, no hand. Okay, just madam, hand is up. Good. Those people who are not you, are they your spouses? Sir? Relatives? Okay. I'm happy to break it to you that you do not have good governance structure. As a governance practitioner, I will share it with you for free. The best practice is for you to have independent directors who can check you for the good of the business and to make the business attractive to other people who might want to partner and collaborate with you. For those of us who run NGOs, our trustees cannot be yourself and your spouse or yourself and your sibling. Get people who are independent of you to be on the trustees board with you. That way, anybody who looks through your books would know that you have strong corporate governance structure. And finally, you have to prioritize. Again, I chose my words carefully. You have to prioritize legal, financial, and tax consultations. If you are doing business in the Nigeria of today and you don't have these, you are on a steady slope to trouble. Now, most people will tell you that, oh, but these things are costly. Yes, but like I said before, the cost of repairing any problem will be more expensive than the cost of getting these advisors. For example, you do not have to, I've told you before, there is tax avoidance. You do not have to pay all your profits as tax if you have a good tax consultant. And that's the truth. So if, for example, an audit of your business is carried out by FIRS, they would tell you to come and pay ×3 of what you ordinarily should have paid. Why? Because they know that most businesses don't get advisors. But if your tax advisor now approaches them and says, no, because of this, this has to be reduced, they will always reduce it. And they respect businesses more when they know you have a go-to person to run to when you run into business. Thank you for your kind attention. All right, so the room has divided itself for us. Those of us who are going to share, this will be group 1. That side will be group 2. I want us to, in the time that I have left, do some case study. Yes, please. It's all about Chow Foods Limited. Case study time. Let's be fast about it. Thank you. Are we ready? So those on my right will be group 1. The assignment you have in the case study is in color yellow. Those to my left will be in group 2. Your assignment on the case study should be in color blue. Okay, all right. So this is the background. Case study, Chow Foods Limited, a lesson in regulatory compliance. The background, Chow Foods Limited was, that tense is also deliberate, was a small-scale food processing company in Lagos, specializing in packaged snacks. The business grew rapidly due to high demand, and within 3 years, it expanded to multiple retail outlets in the metropolis of Lagos. However, the company failed to obtain the necessary regulatory approvals, assuming they were only necessary for larger businesses. The compliance issues they battled with: lack of NAFDAC registration. The company did not register its products with the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, violating food safety regulations. Second problem, tax evasion. The company failed to remit VAT and company income tax, believing that small businesses were exempt. The third problem, employment law violations. Employees were hired informally without proper contracts, and pension contributions were not made in line with labor laws. The regulatory crackdown that came in 2023, this is a true story. In 2023, NAFDAC conducted a market raid and sealed Chow Foods production facility for selling unregistered food products. The Federal Inland Revenue Service imposed penalties for tax evasion, leading to significant financial strain. Former employees filed complaints about unpaid pension contributions, attracting scrutiny from the National Pension Commission. So, group 1 on the right side, you are to treat the consequences. You can huddle together, you can take counsel together. Answer me, what are the consequences from this case study? Please, can we have the second microphone, please? Thank you, sir. God bless you, sir. Can I have somebody help me with it? Thank you. Okay, so what are the consequences? This side for now, group 1.
Who wants to go?
Okay, it's a good thing we have 3 tables. We have 3 tables here. Consequence number 1, this table must be the best. So consequence number 2 and consequence number 3. I have my wife on this table, I have my friends on this table. No, we'll answer questions later. Daniel, Francis, you are both welcome. God bless you, sirs. All right, so starting from table number 1, what are the consequences from this case study? And when I teach, please, all answers are always correct. So,
Thank you, sir.
yes, go ahead, ma'am, please.
I think number 1 consequence.
So that we can network, can you just introduce yourself?
Okay, so my name is Bola Tito Ilewa. I'm a growth expert, sales executive. All right, so I have a business as well. And okay, so we do supply of chin-chin, snacks, basically. And then
Madam, I didn't tell you to advertise. So I said introduce yourself.
I'm a salesperson.
There is an advertising fee. So the first consequence you can think of is what, ma'am?
Okay, so we talked about the NAFDAC shutting down the business.
Okay.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then they're paying for a fine.
Okay.
And then getting the license back might be really, really difficult.
Why do you say that? That's a very good answer. Why do you say getting the license back might be difficult?
Because of precedents. They didn't do the right thing when they had time to do it.
Okay.
So doing it now is like they are being forced to do it. So the consequences comes with the delay of license.
Does anybody disagree with that? Anybody disagrees with that? Thank you, my sister. God bless you. The next table, choose your captain wisely. Table 2. Okay. So, any other consequence?
Yeah.
Please introduce yourself, sir, so that people will get to know.
My name is Seun Adetola. I'm a farmer.
Okay.
So there will be threat of courts because you said former employees file complaints. That means that the owner could be charged to that industrial court, and it could lead to an heavy fine and penalty on him.
Okay, that's good, but let's explore it further. The industrial court is a civil court, so it is not that they are going to be charged to court. They will be taken to court. The consequence that you want to say is that it will cost them money to defend that action, correct?
Yes, sir.
Please, let's clap for my brother. Meanwhile, I don't know why we thought he was a woman. He's actually a man, Mr. Adetola. Table 3. Yes, ma. You are the woman that greeted me when I went to the restroom.
Yes.
You must get it. Oh yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nancy Ekpezu. I'm the lead consultant at Pezu Smith Consulting.
Madam, me, I know you won't hear.
I think that Chaw Foods Limited will face reputational damage.
Okay. Why do you say so, ma?
People are going to lose. They'll be in the news. Such a thing is never hidden. I mean, social media now. I'm sure the employees or whatever, former employees.
What if they get an influencer to help them?
Well, there's just so much an influencer will do. It will still get to the ears of some people by word of mouth. And
what do you think it will be the consequence of that on the bottom line of the company?
The loss of reputation will lead to loss of finances.
Okay.
Because people will lose confidence in doing business with them. They will lose customers. And then the news might just be online. Anybody who wants to do business with them in future will always refer to that.
Like they say, internet never forgets.
And there'll be a lot of costs to do the damage control later.
So it will lead, in other words, they'll pay more at the end of the day.
They'll pay more at the end of the day instead of having done the right thing at the right time.
Please, everybody, can we clap for group 1? Very good. Thank you. So let's move to group 2. Group 2 is to the left. So we also have 3 tables. So let's look at what lessons do you think we should learn from this case study. Yes, sir. Please introduce yourself and tell us the lessons you think we will learn.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, it's afternoon, right? Okay, still morning. Good afternoon. Oh, good morning, rather.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, so the lessons...
Can you introduce yourself, sir?
Okay, my name is Fimba Anyao.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so the lesson from here is, okay, Chow Foods started well. They're a limited company, so we believe they are registered. So it says here that they're a small-scale food processing company. So they started small, but they grew fast.
Exactly.
So most times when people start small, they might not register their products, but of course the advice is to get registered if you can. But in this case, they failed to register and they grew fast. So they omitted that idea of registering their products. So the lesson there is the need to register your products as soon as possible.
Good.
As soon as possible.
All right.
Because especially when growth comes, you might forget that part of your responsibility.
Okay. Thank you. Any other from that table? Okay, let's go to the second table. Oh, sorry, you have something to say, sir. Okay, let's give him the microphone. Thank you, sir. Can you introduce yourself and make your intervention?
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Kelvin Sogie. I'm a fashion designer, fashion illustrator, and a fashion tutor. So one of the things I think this lesson is that get educated quickly.
Get
educated quickly.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Thank you so much. Next table.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, sir.
Yeah, thanks a lot, sir. My name is Andrew. Yeah, I'm in the insurance space. I'm the founder of Ask Mr Insure. So I basically help business owners, individuals with their pensions, self-employed people, and also employees. I help them legally reduce their tax burden. Okay, so concerning the lessons we discussed here is this company did not have a legal consultant, like a go-to person for. They didn't have like a legal and financial tax consultant.
Okay.
There was no record to that here. I feel if they had that, that would help them. That will have helped them. And also, we should endeavor to have a corporate governance structure, to have a structure. I didn't think they didn't have something like that too as well.
Okay, because if they did,
Yes.
somebody on their board would have pointed it out to them.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
very good. Thank you. Very, very good.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Last table. Choose your table captain well. Oh. Nobody how? My sister is there. She's fearfully and wonderfully made. Please give her a microphone. Aya Baba Olowo, ya, make intervention for us. Consequence. Okay, thank you, ma.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Monica, the CEO of TDO Enterprise. I think that it happened to everybody. It's good to go for do the right thing at the right time. Because when it failed to go to the right thing, it leads to default of the company or the businesses, whatsoever it may do. And it happened to me also. When I want to get my NAFDAC, people say, why don't you just do your business anyhow? This country, this and that, this and that. It led to a long time process before getting to the NAFDAC. So if you be able to go straight to the first thing, you'll be able to get what you want, and your business can be able to move forward.
Thank you so much, Monica. Let's clap for everybody. Let's clap for ourselves. Now, the goal of this case study, thank you, sir. The goal of this case study is for us to know, one, to assess whether we were listening when we were talking, and secondly, for us to know that we cannot take anything for granted. Now, I need you to understand that the value you offer is directly commensurate with your back end. Let me explain that. If you're in the market just to make money, reputational damage will fizzle out the money. If you're in the market just to ensure that your product is in the space, people get to know you, financial ruin can come if you flout any regulation. Please trust me honestly when I say this. You will spend 2 kobo to have good advice, but you spend 10 kobo to pay for bad advice. Thank you so much. God bless you.